Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Friday night. It's Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out every week, talking some smack about what's going on in the NFL. And so tonight, episode 46, we're getting dangerously close to that 1 year anniversary, James. So for tonight, basically, we're going to be doing Name That Stadium, which is how we kick off the show every week. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the news from this past week going on in the NFL. Afterwards, we're going to devote the majority of the show tonight on basically what we're going to call trades that we think should still happen. And so there's been a lot of rumor about Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones, whoever else hanging out there. And some of those are, I think, getting hot. They might happen. But we're just kind of doing a, blank canvas. Let's just kind of pick some names out of a hat and see if we think we can find some spots for them to go. We got some thoughts. And so we'll see how that plays out. But then lastly, we're going to close it off with the question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. I tell you what, this morning I was just kind of sitting around drinking my coffee, looking at the different rosters and trying to kind of like find some ideal trade partners and things like that. And man, I was going through the Panthers defensive roster and I don't know, dude. I must have just been absent-minded when I pegged them going 3-14 this year because and I know I was down on Darnold, and I still am, but I forgot how much I like what they did with their defense. I mean, their linebacking group is just fucking nuts. And so, I don't know. At some point between now and the first game, we're gonna have to do an update on our season predictions because I got a feeling I'm gonna be bumping Carolina up a little more than 3 games I originally pegged them getting. So, other than that, everything's going good, man.
I forgot what I think I had him a little bit higher than you.
Yeah, you were a
Uh,
little more positive on him. I remember you saying that you liked Darnold ending up there, and I don't remember what you had him at, but I know it was more than my three.
I had him at 8 and 9.
Yeah, see, I could see, I want to dig deeper and really get back to it, looking at the schedule and everything. But yeah, no, I definitely got to bump him up a little bit. All right, well, hey, so before we dive into our recap of last week's news, let's do Name That Stadium. And so, for anybody who's watching, this is a part of the show where, as you can see, James is out there traveling the country. Every week, he's got a new stadium in his background. And what we're asking is if you think you know what stadium that is, take a shot at naming it, throw some comments in our comments section on YouTube or even on Facebook. And if you're the first person to get the answer right, we'll give you a special shout out in next week's show. And so, James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
Last week I was at Lucas Oil, in Indy. No particular reason. I just kind of like when I thought I remembered what I did, I thought I had them like with huge gains this year based on their moves, and so I was like, yeah, let's do Lucas Oil.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, hey, they did just recently sign Eric Fisher. I know we talked about that in one of the recent shows. And so, whether maybe that was like a subliminal, got in the back of your brain or not, I don't know. But, sometimes it can just be purely random. That's cool too. Okay, cool. So let's move on here. Let's hit our recap of the past week. And so, James, I will admit to you, I have been slacking at looking at the news. I mean, I keep hearing about all the trade rumor stuff, but like the pure league news, I'm a little behind on. The one thing that did stick out to me that actually pissed me off a little bit was this talk about Penny Sewell being the right tackle for the Lions. And there was an article, I saw it on Yahoo, talking about how it's a lot more difficult than he thought switching from left tackle to right tackle. And, I want your opinion on this, but before you give it to me, I'll just give you mine, which is just what the fuck are the Lions thinking? I kind of understand maybe some of their reasoning is that, he had an opt-out year, he's a rookie, they do got the luxury, I'll put quotes on a Taylor Decker being there, so maybe it's a transition kind of thing. But man, with how much hype this guy got in the draft about basically being, as close to a lock as a Hall of Fame left tackle as there could be, I just don't know why we're going to risk messing him up by moving him to right tackle. And typically, I'm okay with moving guys around on that offensive line in the right parameters. When you have like a stud left tackle like this, I don't think you fuck with that. I think you put him there day one and let him get his shit together. And a guy like him should. And so I don't know, dude. This one just it's rubbing me the wrong way, man. What do you think about this?
So I don't necessarily like it, but I can see the perspective of the Lions on why they're doing it. Because he was working out and he was testing, he was trying to learn the right tackle position heading up to the draft. You have Goff, and with Goff, you're paying him shitload of money, and you need somebody that's more experienced on the left tackle side, at least for part of the season, just so Sewell gets up to the speed of the NFL. I can understand that perspective on it.
Man, I don't know. I don't think Taylor Decker's that good, to be honest. And I hate knocking the guy.
Hmm.
But I don't know, dude. I think, hey, you move him to right and you just get Sewell in where he needs to be. That's his most comfortable spot. I've seen the Lions mess it up with guys like Ernie Sims and Jared Davis. And I think they even did it with Ragnow in his rookie year, where they play these guys out of position. And sometimes the guys never come back. And it makes you
Hmm.
wonder, is it because they started somewhere else and then by the time they switched, like damage was already done? And I don't know. I hope that that won't be the case with Sewell because I thought it was a steal of a pick that he fell to us. And,
Hmm.
I'm just hoping that it pays off. Otherwise, that's just another Lions bust pick, which, maybe that's my shell shock here. Maybe that's another reason why I'm so pissed off about it.
Yeah, they do have a tendency of shitty draft picks, but I mean, by all accounts, Sewell is the real deal, and like a lot of times when they made those reach draft picks or the pick ended up failing, there wasn't such a consensus that like he should have gone higher. So
Okay, I got you. You want to make me feel better? I like it. Okay, so looking at other news from around the league, was there anything that stuck out for you worth
the
mentioning?
biggest the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Adam Vinatieri officially retired.
Oh yeah, I did see that on the ticker. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people thought it already happened because I don't think he played last year, did he?
uh, I don't recall. And I know he did it. He did it like in an interview on a sports talk show on a station that I happened to listen to. So I was like listening to the show as he was announcing his retirement. And I was like, "Holy
Okay.
shit, really?"
Yeah, I
Because
remember he had some kicking issues, and I thought for whatever reason he was out of the league last year, but I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look it up. Maybe he ended up kicking somewhere, but um, because I know Indy got a different guy, and yeah, but I mean, hey, that guy had a hell of a career, man.
I think it was Rigoberto Sanchez that
Yeah, that sounds right. That
was,
replaced him. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Because I
the dude was clutch with the Patriots. I mean, that's all you got to know. I mean, he was
yeah,
just lights out, and then he went to Indy, and he was freaking solid as heck there for a long time too.
yeah. I mean, he was in the league for damn 24 years. So I mean,
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a heck of a run.
hmm but you could always count on him. I don't remember like towards the tail end of his career, like I think he was starting to have issues, but I mean, like for most of his career, you could pretty much count on him. No matter where you wanted him to kick from, he'd make it.
Yeah, he was clutch, man. I like that guy. Good for him. It's one heck of a career. All right, what else
Yeah.
you got?
So it's not necessarily a league news thing, but it deals with players in the NFL. So you heard about Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau, the golfer, are playing
Oh,
Brady and Phil Mickelson in a match. And have you heard some of the shit or seen some of the shit that Brady's been tweeting about it?
I heard a little bit in the background the other day on Good Morning Football, but I didn't pay too much attention to it.
So apparently, right after the match was announced, Brady tweeted, "I hope Bryson likes laying it up because Rodgers doesn't believe in going for it." A
Whoa.
reference, a reference to the kicking the field goal on fourth down in the NFC Championship game,
Wow. Okay.
and
So,
just like shit like that. And there's like another like meme he tweeted out where it was, oh, what was it? I don't remember. There's like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but Brady's been talking a lot of shit about the NFC Championship game to Rodgers.
man. Well, hey, Rodgers to Denver, and then maybe we see him in the Super Bowl. That'd be a
So like,
face-off.
oh, that's what it was. It was Bryson that tweeted out. It was a meme of Brady holding like a deflated football with it circled,
Oh, geez. Oh,
said, there's like, once Aaron Rodgers and I take you down, you and Phil Mickelson down, you will feel just as deflated as those balls were in the AFC Championship game.
yeah. That was against Indy too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just remembering back when that. Yeah, and it was cold, and yeah, that's the one problem with Brady having all these rings, and I think also why it was so important that he got this one with Tampa Bay, because it's just like, early on you had the Spygate stuff, and then you had Deflategate, and then I don't even remember. I know there was at least one other controversy in there somewhere, and so it's just like, oh man, just too much drama.
well, you had Spygate Part Two
Okay, that's what
with
it was.
I think it was like, I want to say Cincinnati, where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were,
like why you spying on them?
yeah. So it was like their film crew for something had permission to be there, and they were doing filming and filming game tape for like Do Your Job or something, like some series that the Patriots website puts out, and people and that were watching them noticed that they were taping the Cincinnati sideline,
Okay.
like for the hand signals and shit.
Uh, well, what do some people say? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, all right.
Just
So what else is
just ask
going
the
on in news?
Houston Astros about that.
Yeah.
Trying to think. There isn't a much. Oh, there was. Uh,
I think I saw the Eagles hired a female executive.
was
One of the
I?
teams just did it like the week before, and they just hired someone or promoted someone, and so
Yeah.
but that was
That's
another one I caught it kind of in the background. I didn't get all the details.
Yeah. They promoted a female internally to VP of something.
Okay,
On here's V VP of football ops.
nice man, that's good. They're
So
getting with the program.
it's the highest ranking female personnel executive in NFL history.
Cool, good for her.
She's got a decent, like, just like looking at the article on it, she's got a decent resume to go with it too, though.
Oh, I'm sure because it's going to be scrutinized, and so and for a woman, I'm sure it's just in general an uphill battle, and so she's probably pretty solid.
Yeah, she was the director of football operations for the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL
Okay.
before signing on with the Eagles and becoming their football operations / player personnel coordinator.
Gotcha. Oh, so yeah, on the player personnel side. All right. Nice. All right. Well, hey, anything else or you want to move on?
I think that's about it. Like it was another quiet week
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
cool. We don't
I
need
mean,
to reach for it.
we'll hit some of the stuff in when we talk about the trades because I know we're talking about a couple of the players that would hit the news. So
Okay. Hey, that's cool. Well, yeah, let's get to it. So, yeah, the main part of the show, our 2021 NFL trades we still want to see happen. That's just kind of how I labeled it. I think it's an appropriate name, but, we can kick that around later. Um, so, how do you want to do this, man? I basically have just a whole ton of people and notes on all of them, and some of them are probably worth talking about, some of them probably aren't. We can rotate. If you want to, I guess, kick it off, give me a guy that you think is going to be traded, or maybe that not necessarily that you think is going to be traded, but you want to be traded and why, and just kind of like talk it through. And when you're done, maybe I'll tack on my opinion, and then I'll do the same, and we'll just kind of keep going back and forth. Does that sound good?
sounds good to me.
Okay.
So I'll start with
Julio Iglesias.
Julio Jones,
Julio Jones. Okay, Julio Jones.
who this week that was part of the news. He was on what was he on? Like Shannon Sharp called him, and he picked up, and on live
Oh
TV he's
yeah.
talking to Shannon Sharp, and Shannon asked him, "What are you going to go to the Cowboys?" He's like, "No, man, I don't want to go to the Cowboys. I want to win." And he says, "Well, or something like win something like this. Are you out in or are you saying with no? I'm out in Atlanta." Basically confirming that he asked for a trade. And
Okay.
that's how it's been reported is he asked for a trade. A couple
Gotcha.
things about that strike me as odd is I think it seems kind of like a coordinated thing with Atlanta because Atlanta realized that if they trade him, they're gonna like public opinion's gonna kill them.
Okay.
So it's a way to spin it. It's like we didn't really want to trade him, so but he wanted out and
Yeah.
type of thing. So there's a lot of teams that are rumored, and it's even rumored that they've been offered a first round pick for him already.
See, that's interesting because I read that they would settle for a second round pick, but then I also kind of heard that, um, that they didn't make the move right away and that they were going to take their time because multiple teams had inquired, and so obviously that potentially bids the price up, and so that
Hmm.
even though they were going to maybe make a move for a second round pick, now they might be able to get a first rounder, which obviously makes it better. He's getting later in his career, and it's tough, man, because some wide receivers they can stay at that high level for such a long time. And when I was watching the tape on Julio last year, I don't know, dude, I didn't see the same guy. It looked like he was a little slower to me. It looked like, man, it was weird. In one of the games, I was like, man, he almost looks like a little tight endish. Like it just, and then I had heard at the end of the year that he was playing through a lot of injuries, and so I thought, okay, well maybe that's not a good representation of what he's still got left in the tank. But um, I'm sure just on the name brand alone, there's still some value there.
Yeah, and I heard a lot lately that last year he was playing injured
Okay,
and stuff, and they're Atlanta's not going to trade him till after June 1st because after June 1st is when it's like so like Tuesday his cap hit for this year drops a lot, and so it
okay,
spreads next year. So that's why they haven't traded him yet. It has nothing to do with bidding up or anything. So
Yeah.
you look at the teams, you look at the teams that kind of need wide receivers, and there's a bunch of them. And the one that I would love to see, and I think it would be a dynamic offense. They're searching for that number one receiver is Baltimore. Can you, so you put
Okay.
him on Baltimore, and then the choice that the defense that Baltimore plays has is, do you stack the box to stop the run because you have Lamar who can run and you have
Yep.
Dobbins, or do you double team Julio because Julio can stretch the field. As long as he's playing like he was 2 years ago,
Hmm.
he can be that receiver that's gonna you can't focus. So in Baltimore, you can't focus on one aspect of the game,
Hmm.
and could eventually have Lamar take those steps forward that people are waiting to see.
Yeah, and then yeah, I mean they still got Sammy Watkins, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews. I mean, yeah, it becomes very difficult defensively to stop them. I get what you're saying. I
Yeah,
just
and with
yeah, and then
Atlanta side,
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah.
With Atlanta side, with them drafting Pitts, that's Pitts is the tight end version of Julio, so
Yep.
there's not really going to be that much of a drop off for them.
I gotcha. Okay, so yeah, and I mean, hey, it would solve his desire to go to a contender, you
Hmm.
know. I mean, that they definitely got a shot. Well, I guess let's continue that with Atlanta then. And this is one that I had sort of lower in my notes here, but it's one that you know, it's worth talking about anyhow. Is that with Atlanta drafting Pitts, does that make tight end Hayden Hurst expendable? And I, we'll connect all these dots as the night goes on, but I have a strong feeling that Philly is still going to make a move to get rid of Zach Ertz. Okay,
Hmm.
and we'll talk about that. We've linked him to Buffalo and some places, but I think that when he's gone, Philly is going to want another tight end because they love running with that double tight end tandem. And so when I was going through some of this, I saw Hayden Hurst get moved back to not moved back, but getting moved to Philly in a trade. Um, and I kind of thought, okay, well, if Julio's gone, they brought in Pitts, but then they're down to Pitts and Calvin Ridley. Would they really get rid of Hayden Hurst? And I don't know. I don't know. But, I think it's an interesting thought is him going to Philly. He's still part of a tight end combo there, like he would be this year if he stayed in Atlanta. Um, it just seemed like a reasonable landing spot to me, and I think that Atlanta, you know, they're probably not going to get a second round pick, which is what they traded to get Hurst from Baltimore. I know it was kind of a package deal. I think they like swapped a fifth and a fourth as well to make it work. But to me, I thought, hey, maybe they could get a third round pick. I mean, it feels kind of appropriate if Philly values him and they see the potential there. And then I kind of also thought maybe not there, maybe New Orleans, because New Orleans has a need at tight end now. And so if he is expendable, I think there's a market for him. And I think it's like sort of in that next tier down. He's not necessarily a flashy signing, but, he's a guy that could be on the move here at some point.
Which you saying New Orleans, that kind of reminded me of something else, and it was one of the parts in the news that I missed. But rumors are that New Orleans tried to trade up ahead of New England to draft Mac Jones.
I did hear that. Yeah. And, so much for them being madly in love with Jameis.
Yeah, really. So that, I mean, that's a side note. I'm not really high. Going back to Hayden Hurst, I've never really been high on him as a tight end. Like I
Yeah.
see him more as an okay player, tight end. He's a little overpaid, little overhyped, but he's not that player that you can really rely on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he's a. I don't think he's necessarily like a legit tight end one. I think that the Philly thing, as I was thinking about it, to me it was just that I know Philly likes going with that two tight end set, and I
Hmm.
thought maybe he's expendable, and so there's a connection just from that. And then I thought, honestly, in my opinion, Dallas Goedert really becomes the one, and Hurst becomes their two. It's just a matter of maybe he's unhappy that they brought in Pitts, and so they're like, hey, we're just going to move you. And he ends up basically being in the same situation elsewhere, but sometimes change is necessary. And so, it seemed like
Yeah,
it could
but
work.
I think though the plans with Atlanta for Pitts is to more actually to split him out as a wide receiver because he's not a
Yeah, true tight
good
end.
he's
Yeah.
not a true tight end. He's atrocious blocking. Like he does not really have that ability.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's doesn't make sense to put him in close to the line.
Yeah. And then I wonder, is Hurst really that good of a blocker? So I
True.
don't know. I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
another good
that's
point. Like
there's a lot to unpack here, I think, now that we're talking about this, more than I intended on anyhow. Okay, well, here, let me kick it back to you, man. Why don't you give me another name?
all right, since you mentioned Zach Ertz,
Yes.
I really think Zach Ertz could be traded to Indy.
Ooh, wow, man, this whole time we've been talking Buffalo, and now you're coming at me with Indy? I wasn't even
Yeah,
expecting that shit, man.
it's like the more I think about it,
Because of the Wentz connection? I
because of the
love that,
Wentz
dude. I never
connection
even thought of that.
and the fact that Wentz is I'm not going to say he's soft mentally,
Hmm.
but he has a lot of shit to come back from. He had a lot of problems last year, and I think a lot of his problems last year were the mental game. And you have Frank right there, who Ertz is familiar with Reich's offense because he was in
Yeah.
Philly, and you have that chemistry between Ertz and Wentz to where you can have at least have some confidence in your quarterback coming into the season. And we know Philly wants to trade Ertz, so the more I think about it, that seems like a real solid landing spot for Ertz.
Yeah, there's a strong connection there. I like that you put those dots together because uh, I just kept looking at the Buffalo depth chart and I'm like, man, it's a position of weakness for what's an otherwise like just dominant all around team. And I know they like Dawson Knox, and I mean I like they brought in Jacob Hollister, but they're neither of those guys are really lighting the world on fire. And
Mm-hmm.
Ertz could just come in and just be like one more freaking piece for that team. But I do like the indie aspect because they got Jack Doyle and I like him, but Ertz is definitely a higher level, higher caliber guy, and we know that they need receiving help because they got T.Y. Hilton kind of fading, and then they've got a handful of young guys trying to work their way up, and so um, you know I like that one a lot, man. That would be cool.
That just popped in my head as we were talking. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that one would be sweet. Okay, so back to me.
Back to you.
All right. Um, I'm just avoiding Aaron Rodgers because I thought you were going to get to him. So let me do a different quarterback. This one I read a lot about today, and it kind of threw me for a loop, but it was interesting. Was Deshaun Watson to the Philadelphia Eagles?
Hmm.
And yeah, I was reading about it on NBC Sports. Maybe you saw the same thing or you heard it elsewhere, but they had a reporter basically come out and say that, originally they weren't really in on this Watson chase, but based on some recent conversations, they're saying there's nothing tangible, but they're basically speculating that GM Howie Roseman has legitimate interest. And if you look at some of the things that they've done in the background, they've really stacked up some draft capital, and they could actually be a real suitor. But the other part of this that maybe complicates it is that they probably wouldn't be doing anything until some of these lawsuits get
Hmm.
resolved. In the expectation I've heard is that they think that these are going to go away, um, which I mean, that's I don't know, good, bad, or indifferent. I guess it depends on what's going on there. We don't know the truth of all those stories, but I think that that aspect brings down his price tag. And so I know at one point there was talk of like 5 first round picks, and that ship has sailed. But when you look at what Philly's got going on next year, they've got 2 first round picks plus an optional, a second rounder that's likely to become a first rounder based on Wentz's playing time in Indy. And so I just kind of thought, okay, you know, they've got the capital. And the article actually said they speculated it would be 1 first round pick in Jalen Hurts or maybe 2 first round picks. And so to me, it's like if the price tags really come down that much, this is a real deal, man. It could happen. And I think that the relationship both ways, it just looks ugly now. You know, the team obviously mishandled some stuff with him, and then he dug his heels in, then he had all the lawsuits, and I think that him returning is just bad for business all around. I think it's bad for the fan base. And when I think about Philly, they've been so crazy about their quarterbacks over all the years, and they've had such high expectations. And their fan base, they will chew you up and spit you out. And I think that it's like, hey, I think that they would receive Watson as like, you better come in and kick some ass, or we're just going to run you out of town. And I think for Philly, for their executives, that's a dice worth rolling, man. My opinion.
That's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one that I'd read a little bit about, and I was just like, there's no way that, like, it. I don't. I just couldn't see it happening. But you're right. Like if the price tag has dropped so much to him, it might be worth for him. It might be worthwhile to take a flyer on him.
And even if the price tag didn't come down that much, they could still give him 3 first round picks next year. That to me is that's a lot to bargain with, man. If they really wanted to, and I mean, I think because of the lawsuits, the price tags come down. My opinion, whether it really truly has or not remains to be seen. But I don't know any other team that arguably could have 3 first round picks next year. That puts them like in the catbird seat on this.
Hmm.
And I say three, I'm assuming that Wentz pick is going to turn into a 1st round pick. It may not, but
That's an interesting one. Like it's very true that they, huh? I don't know. I want to look that up because, like, I want to say that you might be right. They're the only ones that theoretically could have three
first
first round
rounders.
picks.
Yeah. And I tell you, man, when I was looking at the draft picks, I was having a hard time finding a single source with all the picks. And so hopefully you have better luck than me. But some of the ones I found, I knew the information was outdated, and it was a really clunky kind of process trying to find it. I had to look team by team, and that seemed to work better. But then, some teams you kind of had to unravel all the trades, and it was kind of a mess.
Yeah, because they have Miami's, they have their own, and they have potentially
Indies.
Indies, and then Miami just has the San Francisco pick.
Yeah, I think Miami only has one pick this year. Yeah, for the first time in a little while.
The Giants have two. The Lions have two,
Hmm.
and the Jets have two.
Okay.
That's
So the
all I'm
Lions
seeing
give
on
two plus
trade.
Goff.
Huh?
The Lions give two plus Goff.
Yeah, because they have Lions. Well, the Lions have first round this coming year, and then this first rounder from the Rams
Yep,
next year, both years, 2020,
22 and 23.
yeah, 22 and 23. Huh.
Yeah.
Speaking of digging their heels in,
Yes. Yes. Your turn. Give me one.
I'll go to Aaron Rodgers since you asked.
Let's do
You
it.
gave me
Let's do it.
gave me a transition there with digging the heels in. So, did you hear any quotes or read any of the transcripts from the Kenny Mayne interview?
No, no. I think I saw some of it on NFL Network this week, and yeah. But I'll let you just give me the juice.
Basically, more or less, Aaron Rodgers said he loves everybody in the Green Bay organization besides the GM and the president of the organization.
I did
He
hear
said,
him. Yeah, he talked about it, or somebody interpreted it as him basically saying a lot of teams are family businesses except for Green Bay. And like something about that bothered him. But,
yeah.
I think that was somebody reading into it, not necessarily his words.
No, he basically said that. I will find the direct quote.
Sure.
I meant, but it's like so he said more or less, I love my teammates, I love the coaches, has nothing to do with Jordan Love, and then talked about how he didn't like the culture,
Okay.
and they they don't, the organization doesn't act like the Packers should,
Gotcha.
basically. And I should have had this ready already, but
That's okay. That's okay. You look it up and, you know, um, I mean, while you're looking it up, can you just tell me where you think he ends up?
okay. He said it's about a philosophy and doing things the right way.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Basically saying, yeah, you guys aren't doing it right.
exactly. So, anyways, I think he ends up in Denver. I'd love to see him end up in Denver. Denver's been searching for a quarterback, and I actually think, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think the framework of a deal is already in place with Denver and Green Bay.
Okay. What do you think it is?
I'm not.
Like, I mean, if you just had to speculate, because
I would
I
say
was looking at their draft capital, and Denver, they've basically just got the standard allotment the next couple of years. And so I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, would they give up the next 3 years first round picks? Maybe they do a first and a second this year plus a first next year. And is that enough? It's kind of tough because it's like, Rodgers only has so much miles left on those tires, but at the same time, it's freaking Aaron Rodgers, so like, you know, I don't know. I mean, if Watson was going to get 5 first round picks at some point, you'd think that Rodgers probably be able to get at least three. But what
so.
were you kind of thinking?
So I'm thinking it's going to be,
Package some players?
yeah, exactly. Like they'll send Bridgewater, um,
Maybe a cornerback. We
yeah,
know Green Bay's looking
maybe
for a CB2.
Bridgewater. Uh, whew, I wouldn't trade that guy. I wouldn't trade that. I
Maybe a
would
wide receiver.
maybe Bridgewater, Kyle Fuller, and a couple picks, maybe 2 or 3 picks, first, second rounders
Okay.
in there to Green Bay. I mean, Denver's been looking for its quarterback. I don't think Denver's ready to give up on Drew Lock, but I think they think he needs a couple more years of development.
Yeah, I agree with that. And,
And
would they be fine sitting him down to ride the pine between Rodgers, and then would Rodgers be okay with that? Um, I like the idea of him going to Denver because I think they become a Super Bowl contender right away, basically. So,
I,
the defense is
I would,
there, the offensive weapons are there. I think they could. They're Super Bowl relevant with Rodgers, man. That's my opinion.
yeah, they are. I mean, any team that gets Rodgers is going to be Super Bowl relevant. I mean, they're probably not going to win the division because you have Mahomes in there, but it's what Denver could be doing. I can't fully respond
Yeah.
to what you said because my internet went down momentarily, so I
Oh.
missed part of it.
Okay. Well,
But
hey, we
but
don't
yeah,
need to live in the
yeah,
past. We'll just keep moving forward.
yeah. But I definitely think there's some sort of framework there of a deal. They just have to file it, and I think it could happen. I think it could happen Tuesday or Wednesday.
Man, that'd be fast. And why not? And why not? Let's get on with life here.
Mm.
Okay. Well, let me give you one of mine. Okay, and this is in anticipation of Rodgers getting moved. Um, and this is actually a two-part thing. Okay, so you got to bear with me, and it's aggressive. Okay, but I think that let's just say hypothetically, it's for a bunch of draft picks, and they're or maybe a player and still like a handful of big draft picks. The Green Bay fan base is just going to be livid. And I don't know. I guess I've heard that some people are saying the fans are actually getting sour on Rodgers for doing this, and so, but I got to believe there's like factions, and I think that the majority of Packers fans are going to be pissed that they didn't keep him happy and that they lost him, and now it basically, unless they land a quarterback, takes them out of like the Super Bowl picture because this is a team that, I know Rodgers is elevating them in a major way, but they do have pieces all around that they could still be a playoff team if they got a quarterback. And so here's my thought. Like I said, it's a two-part deal. Um, I think they move Rodgers and they go out and they make a play for Jimmy Garoppolo. And on top of that, I think they also make a play for Julio. And basically, okay, take whatever picks you get, go out, get a quarterback. Garoppolo was just in the Super Bowl the other year. And then by moving Rodgers, you're rocking the apple cart with Devontae Adams. So why don't you bring in Julio and you can at least say, look, man, you got a quarterback and you got a sweet tandem at wide receiver if you stay. And if you really don't want to stay, you got an insurance policy on him. And you could kind of mitigate some of you know, that rift with the fan base and say, look, guys, we did everything we could here to try and keep this team ready for the playoffs. And, I think that, you still don't have Rodgers, but if you could get aggressive like that, I think you'd have some people saying, yeah, it wasn't ideal, but they fucking worked their asses off to try and keep us in the playoffs. I think some people would respect something like that. All easier said than done, but just my thought.
It kills me how when players express how unhappy they are, that they're unhappy, the fans always jump on the side of the owners and talk about, well, you signed a contract, you should be loyal. Listen, motherfuckers, these owners aren't fucking loyal to these people that they give contracts. As soon as their play drops off, it's like, all right, you're gone. We don't have to pay you anymore.
Oh yeah,
Nothing's
there's
guaranteed.
there's two sides to the coin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so the player's unhappy and they want to go somewhere else. Don't automatically jump on the side of the owner. Look at what is Green Bay giving them? they've given him jack shit. What, they traded up for the replacement, and I don't give a
Yeah.
shit if Rodgers did the same thing. Rodgers basically fell to them at like 32 or some ridiculous number, and Favre was talking about retirement. Rodgers was put when he was drafted. It was talked about him going number 1 to fucking San Francisco, and
Yeah,
he dropped
totally
in the
different
late
deal.
first round.
Yeah.
You can't pass up that. You didn't trade up for Rodgers, who had a first round grade, where like they did with Jordan Love. You traded up for a quarterback that had a late second, early third round grade on him. I mean, it's two total fucking different things.
Yeah, and like I will say this about Jordan Love, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not some professional evaluator, but I do remember running into the draft, people started getting super high on Jordan Love, and he was getting some crazy Patrick Mahomes comparisons of
Mm-hmm.
he's raw, but if you give him a year, he could be the next Mahomes. And I think Green Bay ate that shit up, man. And that was one of the reasons why they made the move. Because, yeah, Rodgers, as far as I know, didn't make a peep about wanting to retire anytime soon. It was premature on the team's part.
Yeah, and but I mean, you when you look at it, like I mean, the team didn't even tell Rodgers they were going to draft a quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, fuck, Philadelphia hated Carson Wentz and were about to trade him, or not about to trade him, but they gave Carson Wentz the heads up. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Chicago just signed Andy Dalton, and the Bears told Andy Dalton that they were going to draft a quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, you got to
It's
give them the common
respect.
courtesy.
Yeah, it's respect.
And officially, the Jacksonville Jaguars have already drafted more first-round talent for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball to than the Packers did in the entire 13 years that Rodgers has been the starter there.
Yeah, it's insane. And you know, so here's the thing. It's like you either as a GM have to have like you're saying, the respect to give them that courtesy of hey, listen, you're a guy, but we're starting to think about the future and we're probably going to bring a guy in just to start grooming, like we're not pushing you out the door. We just got to be safe because we don't know, if you're going to pull an Andrew Luck on us and just retire or whatever.
Hmm.
But or, that's one approach. Or the other approach is every time you bring a guy into the organization, and then probably periodically you're reminding them is, hey, listen, it's the NFL, and whether we love you or hate you or whatever, it is a business, and sometimes people call, and we always have to listen, and anything can happen, and you just kind of like let them know, like there's always a scenario that something could happen, and so that is the business side of it, and it's like we'll talk to you as soon as we can, but sometimes these things come out of left field, and we just got to hear them when they happen. And so, if it gets to the news before we've had a chance to talk to you, that's just because things spun that fast. And it's not that we didn't want to get you in the loop, it's just the way it worked out. But you kind of have to play either of those angles. And for Green Bay to not do either, it's just you're all business, and that's all you give a shit about.
Yeah, and Green Bay decided when they drafted Jordan Love, you draft a quarterback in the first round. He's has to be your starter
Yeah.
year 3. Otherwise,
Well,
it's a wasted pick.
and so here's the thing that I like about the Garoppolo trade as I was thinking about Rodgers leaving and what they do. Jordan Love, I mean, he wasn't even activated for a single game last year. That's how bad he was, okay? And what are the odds that he's really jumped from year 1 to year 2 to be a starter? I just don't see it happening. Garoppolo's under contract this year and next year. And so it gives them time to say, okay, you've got one more year. In worst case scenario, we can really give you one more. But then they're either back in the market to draft a guy or bring a guy in. And so they can still kind of slow play it with Jordan Love by bringing a guy like Garoppolo in.
But I don't think they can. If I think I think
You're
that
saying it has
after
to be year 3.
it has to be year 3 because at the end of year 3 you have to decide whether or not to pick up the 5th-year option.
Well,
And if you don't pick up the fifth-year option, you're going to have to pay out the fucking ass for him if you want him. You
they
need at
already
least
fucked it up, so they're just
yeah.
gonna have to live with that mistake.
Yeah, and Rodgers went out, won the MVP, which completely threw and he even commented, he's like, this kind of started last year. I started a year ago, and the season I had threw a wrench in it.
Yeah,
Basically, a reference to Green Bay that I fucked up your plans because I had such a phenomenal season. Now I'm going to come to you and say I want the fuck out of here because I'm leaving on my terms, not your fucking terms.
yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
blame him for it.
No, no. Hey, we're all people, man. You know, we want to be treated with respect when we feel like we've been wronged. We want to somehow even it out somehow, and him leaving is his way of feeling right again. And so,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
it's also because he holds a fucking grudge. Like he hasn't talked to his family in years because of something they did. So
I have heard some of that stuff, but we're on the outside looking in. We don't know what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah, exactly.
All right, well,
Anyways,
here,
back
yeah,
back to you.
yeah,
That's kind of why I wanted to delay a little bit on the Rogers thing because I saw it leading into a little bit of a rant.
yeah. There'd be some tangents, and we'll probably come back to it too. But all right, so yeah, now I gave you my kind of two-part trade scenario.
Oh,
Let me,
it's back to me.
yeah, let me kick it back to you, man.
Sorry, I got off on the Rogers
Oh yeah,
tangent.
no, I had the Garoppolo Julio combo deal to follow it up.
Yeah, yeah. Now I remember. Now I remember. All right. So which one? Which one?
I could take another one while you're thinking.
So I told you one earlier, and I might change it a little bit
Okay,
because you told me you had this player going somewhere else. So I'm going to change
sure,
it a little bit.
sure.
The Lions trade for Devontae Parker.
Oh wow. Um, Man, I didn't think about that at all, man. I figured Devontae Parker was locked in finally, but I mean they do
Yes,
have Will Fuller. They just drafted
exactly,
Jalen Waddle, and
exactly.
honestly, they still have Preston Williams, who's not on the radar by any means, but I've seen that guy's tape. I like it, and he just wasn't on the field enough to really get the praise. Um, okay, yeah, tell me more, man. Tell me more.
So so that you hit on the reason why I think Miami would trade him. A reason why I think the Lions would go after him. If the Lions need a number one pick,
A
or
number
not
one
number one
wideout,
pick,
yeah.
a number one wide receiver. They don't have that player on their roster. He's in Miami the last few years. Parker's been their number one. He's proved he can hold it. He he's reliable, and he's probably will be the most realistic receiver for the Lions to go after because of the talent that Miami has amassed at that position.
Okay.
I I don't know what it would take to get him. They probably have to maybe a little bit overpay, but I think Parker could be a good target for Goff to stretch the field.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. Yeah, and then it puts Tyrell at two, Perriman in the slot maybe. I don't know how they'd work it. And then they got, the guy from USC they drafted. It kind of gives him time to figure out where he fits. And man, you know, I didn't think about it. And I'd be interested to see how that would work for Goff, because Goff's always had, Woods and Cooper Cup,
Hmm.
not necessarily the biggest, most physically imposing guys. Um, hmm, I'm intrigued. So what do just throwing out some speculation, what do you think it would take to get him? You think we got to go a first round pick on that guy?
Ah,
I mean,
drawing a blank on
I think
a
he
name right
was a
now.
first round pick, wasn't he?
I think he was, and I'm drawing a blank on a name right now. So you're gonna have to give me a,
Sure.
a moment.
Or were you thinking a trade scenario, like a player in the trade?
Yeah, a player in the trade, and I can't remember his name. Who's the way overpaid defensive end we have?
Oh, Trey Flowers,
Is it, is it Trey Flowers?
the guy that we
No,
got
it's the
from
other.
New England.
No, the other one.
You talking about the young guy that Romeo Aquara that we just signed in the offseason?
No, no, no. It must have been Flowers.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think we
Flowers.
both like Aquara. I mean, we knew
Yeah,
we paid a premium for him, but Flowers got the big contract. Yeah, he came over with the Patricia Bob Quinn era.
yeah.
He had a
Say
year where he looked like he was, ascending in New England, and man, they just like massively overpaid for the level of production that he had. But here's the thing. I think he's good. He's just not great. And we're paying him to be great is the problem.
yeah, say package Flowers and a second round pick.
Oh, that's a lot, man. I wouldn't give up that much, but um I mean,
Maybe
I guess I
nah,
don't know.
third round pick. Say a third round pick.
Okay.
Do like the third round pick and Flowers. Like I think they need to dump Flowers' salary anyways. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think Miami has a little bit of a need for a defensive end. They might have to eat part of Flowers' salary this year, like say pay a couple million of whatever they're supposed to pay him, and he could slide into like their left defensive end, and then give him like the third round pick or maybe a fourth round pick, depending.
Yeah,
Say a
and
fourth
there's
could
yeah, and there's
escalate.
the Flores New England connection there. I could
Yeah,
see that being something that could work. Yeah. And then we get our wide receiver one. I'd be all for something like that. It's on the aggressive side, but it could work long term.
well, for any wide receiver that we could theoretically get via trade, we would have to be aggressive on it.
Yeah, I think at this stage in the
Might have to
game, and unless
give
we're, unless we're going to try and make a move for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., which I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point here, but there's a lot of risk reward in that guy. So
Mhm.
you don't know which one you're getting. Okay, my turn, or you got anything else to add on that?
No, your turn.
All right, man. This is one that I was going to save for later and maybe make it like my closing, pick here, but I'm going to do it now because I can't hold it in any longer. And I'm just going to say that this is purely me wanting to see this happen after I've read into a lot of things. I don't think it will happen, at least not this year. But just hear me out on it. Running back Nick Chubb to the New York Jets. And I know you're like, what the fuck? Why would you mess with Cleveland? Because they got a great thing going there. And I do think they have a great thing going there. But here's the thing. Chubb is only under contract through this year. And I've not heard shit about them wanting to sign him long term. And we know that a lot of teams are very cautious now with paying running backs big bucks. Further, they love freaking Kareem Hunt, man. And they're public with how much they love Kareem Hunt and how he's more versatile. And they got one more year with Hunt. They got him through 2022. I think that if they're not going to sign Chubb to a big contract, they should trade him and get value out of him. I think that because they're in the playoff hunt, it's not going to happen this year. I think the most likely scenario is that after this year, they probably do like a tag and trade with him if they can't figure something out. But I mean, the cap's going up by 30 million next year. Maybe they'll work something out. Who knows? I just like Chubb, and here was my logic to this: is that the Jets just drafted Zach Wilson super high. Okay, uh, get him a workhorse running back that can take the pressure off of him and help him ease into his role as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And Chubb is one of those freaking bruisers that's always been underrated and just kicks ass. Plus, I like Robert Saleh going to the Jets, defensive minded guy. I love pairing defense with power running. I don't know, like in my brain, all of those connect to that's like a perfect complement to that team to like really accelerate their rebuild. And the Jets, they have two first round picks this year, which you mentioned, and they've got two second round picks. I would be willing if I was the Jets GM to float a first rounder and if need be, because Chubb was an early second round pick and he's been a high performer. Let's just say they don't bite on that. It's like, hey, I'm going to have to pay this guy, so I'm not going to go crazy. But if I had to, I'd give a first rounder and I'd give a second rounder to bring in Chubb because I think he's that fucking good. And then they still have a first rounder and a second rounder, and they're giving their young quarterback a stud workhorse to take the pressure off. Just a thought, man. Just a thought.
So my face wasn't as much on
Disgust.
discuss. It was I was trying to remember, and I got the two confused. I got Michael Carter and Javonte Williams confused on which one was which.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
Uh,
they did draft the running back, and they brought in
right,
Tevin Coleman, but
right. So I was like, didn't they just spend this? I was thinking it was a second round pick on Michael Carter, but it was a fourth round pick. So it
yep.
makes a little bit more sense. Um, so it was Javonte Williams that went in the second round to who did he go to? It was to the Broncos, which I mean that's we're not talking draft.
Yeah, yeah.
But
uh,
so that's where that look was. And it makes sense because the entire time it's been years since the Jets have had a solid running back, that workhorse running back, and I could see it. Um, Speaking of Salah's been in the news was in the news today because he got a police escort to the Knicks game the other night,
oh, okay.
and which kind of apparently rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Hmm. He's
But
high profile now, man.
yeah, but anyways, so but that's where my look was. I was trying to figure out remember which one was which.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I could see it. I could see that making a lot of sense.
I just think, hey, don't throw Zach Wilson into the fire. Give him a little bit of help. I mean, if you're going to put this whole thing on his shoulders from day one, I just have flashbacks to freaking David Carr down with Houston Texans, man. It's like, dude, you just some guys they don't make it when you do that. And
Hmm.
you know, but if you had Chubb come in there and just fucking pound the rock 300 something times, that's taking a lot of pressure off of Zach Wilson, man.
I mean, you wouldn't even need it. Like you could put some of that on what's his uh, Carter
Yeah, on Carter or Tevin Coleman.
or Tevin Coleman.
You
But you could.
could,
I
but
think.
I
I
I
think.
don't see them. Chubb is like dominant in my opinion, and you know what you're getting with Chubb. I think with these other guys, you've seen Tevin Coleman flash here and there, and then been hurt a lot, and all these problems, and then with the rookie coming in, it's he just there's he was a fourth round pick for a reason. It's if you had a chance to get Chubb, it's like sweet. Now you have your nice stable of running backs. If you need them. So,
Hmm.
but hey, these are this was just something that made sense to me. Not everybody's cup of tea.
No, I know. I I get it. I don't I don't see Cleveland moving Chubb like that.
No,
But
I,
I
I,
do
I
I
yeah,
do
like
understand what you're saying about the fact that they have not talked about re-signing him at one bit.
I get the sneaky suspicion that they're going to try and tag and trade him at the end of the year and they're going to put the money into Kareem Hunt and pair him with a rookie runner that following year. And if they do that, that's fine. That's their choice to do it. I just think that Chubb could add a lot of value somewhere, and I think the Jets now have that need for him. Timing wise, it just doesn't totally line up, and so that's why I just said this was one I'd like to see happen, not necessarily one I think will happen. But here,
Interesting.
let me kick it back to you. Or what are you reading? You reading something interesting?
Oh no, yeah, apparently the Lions tried to trade up in the draft
Okay.
to the fourth to wow. They tried to trade up with Atlanta.
Ooh. Okay.
Huh. That's it just it was
Maybe
at the
maybe they
bottom like I was
maybe they wanted Pitts to go with Hawkinson.
I don't know. I
Who needs wide receivers when you got those two tight ends?
Yeah, apparently also the top three betting favorites for Julio Jones to play for next year is San Francisco, then the Raiders, then the Patriots.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's pros and cons with all of them. But all right, man, give me your next guy if you got one. I don't know how many you got. I got a whole bunch, but they're getting kind of, lower flash from here.
I hit that one. I hit that one. I got like one or two more.
All right. Well, give me one, or I'll go if you want it.
I'm gonna go with Russell Wilson.
Oh, back on Danger Russ. All right, what you thinking?
All right. So back when it has kind of died down. You haven't heard much about it um, since what was that? Was it March when Russ talked about not having an offensive line and
Yep.
wanting blah 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 wham 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 wham. They let me do what I do. Wham 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 wham. I want to be traded. Wham 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 wham. Anyways,
Man, I
whatever.
thought you liked that guy.
Whatever happened, I just thought I thought there was a lot of whining coming out because they basically giving him everything he wants up there and plus and maybe part of the reason why the team's having problems or they're having turnovers is because he's getting sacked is because he holds the ball for too damn long.
Okay.
Anyways, back then I had said that if the see if he was to be traded, it'd be after June 1st because that's when the cap hit drops substantially, and it drops from 39 million dead cap this year to 13. And I think that the Seahawks would want to get a quarterback in return.
Mm-hmm. Goff.
So
Yes. Yes. Send him Goff. No, I know you're going somewhere else.
I'm gonna go with Vegas on that one. Vegas sends Carr and a second to Seattle for Russ.
I think he's worth more than that. I don't know. I guess I'm just not that high on Carr.
Well, see, I'm not that high on Carr either, but when I did a deep dive into things relating to potential trades, I did a deep dive into Vegas and into Carroll, and it seems like Carroll is really high on Carr.
Oh, okay.
And that I'm seeing a lot of Carroll being really, really high on Carr.
Well, I know that he likes to run a power running offense, and that's evolved with Russell Wilson
Hmm.
to more of a pass first offense. And so maybe he's thinking, hey, I make the trade, Russ is happy, and I get a guy that I like, but that doesn't have to be the main attraction. And he can
Right.
go
And
back to like ground and pound and still have a capable enough quarterback to do what he needs to do when he needs to pass.
yeah, and that's the thing. That's why what rumors are the reason why the Bears weren't able to strike a deal with Seattle was Carroll's question was, then who's my quarterback?
Yeah, yeah. Who's he
And
getting back? Foles?
not knowing
No.
not knowing who his quarterback is, I think is what prevented the deal from happening with Chicago.
Okay. Well, that makes it interesting. Um, okay. It would definitely help the Raiders, man. It would
Yeah.
definitely help them. Okay, so let's see. Is it back on me then? Or do you got a couple things to add on there?
I think it's back on you.
Okay. All right, let's see. Which one do I want to go with? All right, I'm gonna go with this one. We didn't talk about Michael Gallup yet, did we?
No, I switched it up at the last minute.
All right. So I got the impression that you were doing that because you wanted me to take it. So and you can add your comments or your thoughts on it. But all right. So Michael Gallup to the Chargers, and my thought on this is that he's only under contract through this season, and Dallas still has both Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the roster. Will they pay for a third wide receiver? And Gallup, his production came down a little bit last year because CeeDee Lamb kind of stole the show. But before that, you could see he was ascending. And I think he knows that. And so he's going to want to get paid. And I'm not talking like a shit ton of money, but enough money that could Dallas really say, hey, we're going to pay three guys all this money when we're paying Zeke all this money and Dak all this money. And who knows? I mean, the salary cap doesn't seem to mean shit anymore, so it could happen. But my opinion was this would be a great move for the Chargers because you've got young Justin Herbert lighting the world on fire in his rookie year. Keenan Allen, he's a legit wide receiver one. But Mike Williams, he's a bit streaky and he leaves something to be desired. Gallup comes in, he gives him the solid two. Mike Williams, I mean, if he's the third man in that rotation, I think you got a great wide receiver core right there. Uh, you know, I was looking at draft capital. What could it take here? And Gallup was a third round pick in Dallas, and I think because the stats dropped this past year, you can argue maybe that's what they get in return for him as a third round pick. Uh, I don't know that a team's going to get overly anxious and throw a second rounder higher because the stats did go down. In the argument of, oh, CeeDee Lamb was there, other teams aren't going to give a shit about that. And so, but for Dallas, hey, would they be willing to say, okay, we'll take that third round pick? Basically, we had him, and now we're getting that pick back to go out and get somebody else next year. Maybe. I think it'd be a good move for the Chargers for Herbert's case.
I'm gonna say right city, wrong team.
You want him going to the Rams, huh?
So the thing when you look at the Chargers, Keenan Allen, both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are players that can stretch the field, which is the role that Gallup would you'd want to bring Gallup in to play.
I look at Mike Williams more as like a possession guy, but I hear you.
And the Rams are hanging their hopes on stretching the field on Deshaun Jackson.
I see where you're going.
And I think they're going to realize in short order that that's not the player Jackson is anymore.
Okay.
And they're going to go out and they're going to try to find that player that can stretch the field. Now, I considered Julio to the Rams, which would be fucking amazing initially.
Salary cap
But
doesn't mean anything.
salary cap doesn't mean anything.
I
I mean,
know, I know. It just blows my mind that it doesn't even matter anymore. It's fake. It's fake.
no, I, it's doable. And the way it's doable is because primarily the reason for moving on from Julio is to dump some salary.
Hmm.
If they ate a couple million of that salary, they probably could get a little bit more for Julio.
Okay.
And I went through it, and it's feasible to happen
All right.
to
Yeah. So
structure
who?
it,
Yeah. So
but
who do the
to
Rams
the Rams,
give up?
but
Because yeah, because they don't
not
have any draft capital, man.
right. Which is why I discounted the potential Julio trade.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You shave some millions here to
Yeah,
adjust the. Yeah.
but then you look at it, they could give up a third round pick or a third and a fourth, or some combination of picks, or they could even they could even do something crazy like give up throw in one of their backup linebackers, or throw in one of their safeties or something into that. But not none of the big guys, like definitely not Leonard Floyd, not Donald, not their defensive line. But I think hell, they could even throw Deshaun Jackson back at them.
Okay.
And it's just I think though that they're going to realize very quickly that Deshaun Jackson can't stretch the field like he used to.
Well, he can't stay
He's
healthy either, and that's
Yeah,
yeah.
but he's not that player anymore. And without him being able to stretch the field, what role does he have in the Rams offense?
Yeah. He doesn't have any value at that point. Yeah. Okay. I hear you. Agree to disagree, but that's what this is about, man. We got different opinions.
Hey,
Okay,
we're in the same city.
yeah, yeah. Geographically, it was right. Um, all right, so here we go. I got one on defense that I want to get to, because we've been talking all offense, and that's fine because offense gets all the attention. But here's one that I think is worth talking about on defense is linebacker Rashaan Evans from the Tennessee Titans. Ever since they announced that they were declining his fifth-year option, the trade rumors started swirling. And I think Rashaan Evans to the New England Patriots. I know it's not as flashy as these offensive names that we've been talking about, but he can still be a solid contributor on defense. I know he's not lived up to his first round status. Pair him with Belichick and what he does working his magic with guys, I think he could get him back on track. And, on top of that, they have another former Alabama linebacker in Donta Hightower that's coming back from his opt out year. But he's getting very long in the tooth in linebacker years. So I just see it as being a great transition for that defense. Get Evans in now, give him a year to work with Hightower, and then he gets to be the successor to give that defense a solid linebacker going into the future. And I think with the Patriots' recent struggles in the draft, just kind of looking at the value here, what could you put out there to get the guy? Obviously, you're not going to go off for a first round pick because that's the reason they're moving on from him. But could you do it for a third? If you could, I think you take it. But I think if you're the Patriots, and everything that you did this whole offseason, I would even be willing to drop a second rounder to get this guy in there if I could. That way you've got that year to have him in that linebacking core and do that transition and contribute to the team. The alternative to that, which I can talk about next or in a minute, but you could package him in a deal for Stephon Gilmore because he was part of trade talks a couple months back, and we know Tennessee still needs a solid CB1. And so maybe there's something in there. Another team I looked at, that might want to go after Rashaan Evans was Washington, and so I think there's teams that could use this guy, but you got to have the right coach. You got to have a guy that's willing to work with him and develop him. And it just seems like that has soured in Tennessee. And so, I don't know. I like the New England thought, but just one of my opinions.
Interesting. This is the last one that I had worked out,
Okay.
and I haven't fully worked it out.
Well, I'll
I
help
don't
you. We'll work it out
I don't
together.
know what would be going back, but I've heard a lot. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about the Jets shopping C.J. Mosley,
Okay.
and he has. I haven't fully worked it out because the cap's fake,
Yeah. Yeah. Fake cap. Fake news. Fake cap.
and I can't figure out how to get this cap to work right for it. But I think C.J. Mosley to Green Bay.
Yeah, I could see something like that happen. Green Bay, they do need help at that level of the defense.
Yeah, they couldn't stop the run last year. The year before they couldn't stop the run. They haven't really addressed and that all stems from their linebacker positions. Weak outside of the Smith brothers.
Yep.
It's weak.
Yeah, and one of those guys is basically just a pass rush specialist. He's not really
Yeah,
a traditional linebacker. So, okay.
yeah, and
Yeah, so you're
I
thinking what?
didn't have quite the time to fully work it out. It was This was the last one I was working on when before we started. I had some computer difficulties. So yeah, you could slide him in. Let me get their depth chart open.
Well, so I mean, yeah, if Green Bay, let's just say they made the Rodgers trade and they got a little bit draft rich, in terms of picks, I think they could do something. I mean, Mosley was a first round pick, and then he was, a premium free agent pickup. So I think that, I mean, I guess I don't know, like, is he like, what are some of the basis of the rumors? Are they just thinking, hey, he's fading, we're going to bounce him, or have you heard
I
any of that?
I'm no what I'm A lot of what I'm reading is he wants to be traded. He wants to go to a contender.
Okay.
He's realizing that he's going to be on his way out in New York, and I think it would be a move they could make. I mean, he has 14 million guaranteed left on his contract, so they can't necessarily cut him and let him go
Yeah.
wherever. And I've seen it's just stuff like that. Like he wants to go to a contender because he knows he's on his way out there.
I mean, I think it's got to be a first round pick. And if you're the Packers, it's a late first round pick as long as the wheels don't fall. I mean, if you get rid of Rodgers, it might not be a late first round pick, but let's just say you got rid of Rodgers and you brought in Garoppolo like we had kind of floated around. I mean, but would Mosley still want to go there? Man, I guess there's a lot to kind of talk out with that one.
Yeah, I know there's, and I hadn't gotten fully through it. But speaking of the Packers again, one of the shows I listened to on they have like a Twitter poll, and it was the funniest thing I've ever heard on one of the funniest things I've ever heard on the radio, because it was like, what place will the Packers end up in with Jordan Love at quarterback? And so first place, they were trying to say like the poll, like first place is third place and second is whatever, and they kept messing it up because first place, second place, third place, or fourth place in the division, and first place, second place, third place, or fourth place in the poll. It's like, and they kept messing it up, and it just
Okay.
popped in my head.
Gotcha. Okay, so Mosley was your last one.
Yeah, I don't know. I see the fit in Green Bay, and the need in Green Bay, and if they do it kind of in the right order, they could Mosley could be like, wouldn't necessarily be pissed about it because Rodgers might still be there when they make the trade.
Yeah, they could find a way to, yeah.
Or if they get a semi decent quarterback back in the Rodgers trade, or immediately after the Rodgers trade, that could kind of keep the team afloat. Because I mean, offensively, the Packers they're pretty good. They have some pieces there.
Oh
You
yeah.
just you have a semi competent quarterback, and you can still win some games.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think it's dire straits, but they got to get somebody that's halfway decent. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it could work. I think, where there's a will, there's a way, especially when it comes to the salary cap. Uh, all right, well, here, let me give you my last one then. And I have more, but this is my last one that's juicy. And this one actually got me pretty excited because we're living in a world with fake salary cap. Stephon Gilmore to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And just assume that they can play all these games like Philly does and all these teams do with, 50 freaking voidable years.
Well, they're already doing it with Brady. They signed Brady for like a 5-year extension that voids
Yes.
after
Yes.
2.
So they know the game well. Uh, you know, like we talked about a minute ago, Gilmore has been in the rumor mill for months of being traded. And, Belichick, it's just his MO. Guys, as soon as he thinks that they're an inch away from declining,
Mm-hmm.
he proactively moves them. And maybe Gilmore's there. I don't know. It could just be pure speculation. But this is arguably like the lone weakness that Tampa Bay has is at cornerback. They got a couple of young bucks that are getting better every year. But here's the thing. Kansas City, they just beefed up that offensive line, okay? And so if they went round 2 with the Bucks, I think it's a totally different game this next time around. And so for the Bucks, if they could pull a move off like this, it's basically saying we can't possibly get better at this point. And if they want to go back to back, this is like the cherry on top to try and make that happen. I think they're going to find a way to make it happen anyhow. I just think that this would be insane. And if I'm Tampa Bay, I would be totally comfortable throwing out a first round pick for this guy. Now, here's the thing. When I was researching this, I was looking at, there was a rumor about Julio to New England, not for a pick, for Gilmore, straight up. And then I had heard Atlanta was willing to settle for a second round pick, possibly on Julio. And so I thought, hypothetically, you're saying somewhere in there, maybe the value on Gilmore is only a second round pick. But if I'm Tampa Bay, it's a late first round pick. You know that you got your shot of going back to back. Just tell them, hey, I'll give you my first rounder. Take it or leave it. And, I don't know. That would just be lights out even more for Tampa Bay, man.
Well, interesting you say that, because there's an article I read earlier today about how, or it might have been yesterday, I don't remember when I read it, but how Brady had said something about he wants to play with OBJ.
Okay.
And basically the Bucks give Brady whatever he wants,
Yeah.
but I could not come up with a reasonable trade or even a fit or why the hell Tampa Bay would trade for OBJ with like all the talent they have at wide receiver, unless it's
Yeah.
because they know they're going to lose not Evans, the other Godwin after this year.
Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. OBJ, all right, I mean, if Brady wants him, he wants him. It's just, yeah, what do you trade for him? Because I think Cleveland, I want to say they gave up a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers. I know it was a lot, and maybe there was even more than that, but the way OBJ's played and then now recently been injured, I don't think Cleveland gets anywhere near that for him. And I don't think they would mind. I think he's a distraction to them at this point, and he's a burden on their salary cap for the next couple of years. I think if Cleveland could get a fucking second or a third round pick for him, I think they would take it. Obviously, if they can get more, they would want more, but, you know, I don't know. I think, I mean, we saw it last year. They played better without him. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So the Beckham trade that Cleveland sent got Beckham and Olivier Vernon for Peppers, Zeitler, and a first and a third.
okay, I forgot that Olivia Vernon was in it, so that complicates it a little bit. But okay, still, I don't think there's anything near that kind of level of draft haul coming back their way. I
Oh
think we've
yeah,
seen, we saw the good in the Giants, and now we've seen the bad and the ugly with the Browns. He can still play when he wants to and when he's healthy, but when he's a head case or he's hurt, it's just not there.
yeah, exactly. And like glancing at it, just glancing at his stats, he's the only seasons he's had less than 1,000 yards was 17. He only played 4 games, and this past year he only played 7.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You're making the case for him.
Yeah, I am. But it's how do you fit him into that already stacked offense?
You just do it. You just have Brady figure it out.
Yeah, it is Brady. So I didn't mean to hijack
It's okay. It's okay.
your
You got to do what you
Gilmore
got to do,
trade.
man. You got to do what you got to do. Okay. I think that's good. My other ones were way smaller on the scale. We don't need to dig into those. Um, but let's move on. Let's do our question of the week. And I was telling you before the show. I was looking at the Raiders. This is like, obviously not factoring in a Russell Wilson trade. This is just the Raiders as they are. I'm really down on them with how their offseason went. I don't like some of the trades they made. I wasn't really a big fan of their draft. They had good, they had bad. I just overall, in free agency, not a huge fan. So my question of the week: do you think John Gruden gets fired after this season? And and this is basically you. If you think that they're going to be great, make the playoffs, then yeah, he's probably not getting fired. But my opinion is that he is getting fired because they're not going to make the playoffs, and this team can't wait forever for him to figure out his rebuild. The division is getting tougher. I don't know, man. I just didn't see them make any moves to like tangibly get better this year. Like the Kenyon Drake freaking pickup, like that's their biggest move. They didn't even need a running back, man. I just, I'm a huge Gruden fan. I just don't see a very good, cohesive plan that they're putting in place. And I don't know, dude. I think it's going to blow up on them this year. I think it's going to be a problem.
So I agree with 100% with everything you just said about Gruden decides the fact that they were going to fire him.
Okay.
And I know it seems counterintuitive to say that it's not working out, but they're going to keep him. He signed
A fucking 10-year deal.
10-year, $100 million contract. This is his 4th year. And while it's been a disappointment, if they fire him after this year, they're going to have to pay him $60 million.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking about the contract.
And Mark Davis is known as a cheap-ass owner. And the Raiders organization, just in general, is fucking loyal to their coaches.
Okay.
Besides when they decide to trade their coach.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, maybe it's a coach trade, round 2.
No, but wasn't that outlawed by the league after the Gruden trade?
Oh, I think you talked about that before. I never looked into it, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I think I remember it being outlawed after the Gruden trade.
Okay. All right. Well, then, shit. Maybe they ride it out. They ride it out to the fucking wheels fall off, man. I don't know. But I think the wheels are falling off this year. I think the team's going to go backwards.
The league's anti-tampering policy states that clubs are not permitted to exchange draft choices or cash for the release of individuals who are under contract to another organization. But it includes provision that excludes head coaches and other from that prohibition. What?
We'll look it up later. All right. So you think he's safe for a while? I got you. Okay. So similar to Name That Stadium. Anybody who's watching, give us your opinion. What do you think Gruden's status is after this year? Is he locked in? Is he locked in even though the team goes backwards? Is he locked in because the team's going to get better? Or is he getting fired because this shit's just not working? I don't know. Tell us what you think. And, hit us up in the comment section. James, that was the question of the week, man. So this is the part of the show where we wrap things up unless you found something to talk about.
I just found something interesting that technically Bill Belichick was traded from the Jets to the Patriots.
Oh, okay. What was the trade?
3 draft, a first, a 4th, and a 7th rounder.
Idiots.
Well, no, because apparently what happened was Belichick signed to be the head coach of the Jets, and then said, you know what, no, fuck this, and then went to the Patriots. The day after he agreed to become the Jets head coach.
Okay. Yeah, so he kind of stiffed him. Yeah.
So he kind of stiffed him.
He
and the
pulled a
Jets got pissed
McDaniels.
about it. Since he was technically under contract with the Jets, they negotiated a trade.
Okay.
They sent a 5th and a 7th to the Patriots, and the Patriots got a 1st, a 4th, a 7th, and Bill Belichick. Okay, that's another rabbit hole that.
Yeah. For next week.
Yeah.
And speaking of next week, we got to come up with another topic. So.
Yeah.
If you got any bright ideas, let me know, man. Otherwise, we'll just be hitting it up this weekend. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. But I think this one was a good one.
Yeah, this one was fun. I like this one. Okay, so for anybody who's still watching, we hope you liked the show. If you did, give us that thumbs up. If you're not subscribing, please hit the subscribe button. And definitely hit us up with some comments. We want to know what you think. We want you to play Name That Stadium, all the kind of fun stuff we try doing every week. All right, James, it was cool, man. I'm good if you're good, and I will shut it down.
All right, I think I'm good.
All right, man. I'll catch you later.
All right, have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.